Thank you very much for joining us for this final session for the Prosperity for All Summit, which is Call to Action, initiating the ASEAN Mentoring Entrepreneurship Network. When Joey Concepcion told me about this Prosperity for All Summit, I said, I will take on this job to be your overall MC and for your session monitor, because these panelists I have before me have all said no to one-on-one interviews with me in the past. So this is now my opportunity to grill them over the next 50 minutes. No, just kidding aside. We've all had a very insightful and thought-provoking discussion over the past 4 sessions. So now, the ASEAN Prosperity Summit now poses this question. How are we able to ensure that the micro, the small, and the medium-sized enterprises of ASEAN will not only survive in an ASEAN integration, but also thrive within the community? So there are a lot of challenges that are faced by the SMMEs. So are we ready to take action to help the medium, the micro, the small and the medium-sized enterprises in this development? And one of the solutions is mentorship. And that is why the ASEAN Business Advisory Council is set to launch the ASEAN Mentorship Entrepreneurship Network. So let us start the discussion. And we would like to ask a question to His Excellency. Maybe you could tell us more about this AMEN initiative and what Cambodia's role will be in it.
Hello. First of all, I would like to thank you for your invitations. Let me talk about I would like to recall that the ASEAN Strategic Action Plan for SMEs Development 2016-2025 under the ASEAN Economic Community Blueprint serves to strengthen the SMEs and micro enterprises engagement in the increasingly competitive economic environment and to support their growth and development through the visions of globally competitive and innovative SMEs, and that by 2025, ASEAN shall create more globally competitive and resilient SMEs. You mentioned about the how to strengthen the SMEs in ASEAN. We need private sectors. That's one of the things that very important for us. The PPP, the public-private partnerships in supporting the entrepreneurships. First is the you need more of regulations, not regulation in the sense that I'm talking about here is the for talking about e-commerce or legal frameworks. All of us has to have some kind of harmonized legal frameworks so that we can work together as a group of ASEAN economic communities. Once you have that, then you need to move forward with the private sectors. Private sectors has to follow in a sense on the objective, concrete objective for us. For example, what we need to do in this case here is the e-commerce and the ICT to move the entrepreneurship into the next in 21st centuries. Private sectors is very important for us because they provide fundings. They provide a kickstart funds for startups in order to move forward for their the SMEs or micro SMEs endeavors. I believe that the ideas is very important for that. I believe that we need to move in sync. Otherwise, it would not go a long way. So I'll stop right here and we can start questioning, do more.
So, my question now is, His Excellency, is it possible to really have an ASEAN mentorship entrepreneurship program when MSMEs in the region have various ways of managing things and doing things? Because there can't always be a one-size-fits-all solution. How do you think will this work?
It cannot be one size fits all. As you know that ASEAN community or ASEAN member states, they have different growth. You know, in there, the ASEAN 10, there's ASEAN which are already advanced, there's ASEAN which are still developing, and there's some LDCs which Cambodia is part of that. And they need to complement each other in that regards. It's not just that one size fits all you're talking about here, that one of the, let's say for example, Cambodia can provide more of the labor, I would say. I wouldn't say cheaper labor, but less cost labors to promote the entrepreneurship from the startups. And for other advanced countries like Singapore or Malaysia, they can look into helping us on providing more funds and more infrastructures so that we all can develop together as a whole, as to produce something that coming out as made in ASEAN rather than just one country as a whole. This is very important for us to see the whole big pictures of things rather than just have each country try to compete each other within ASEAN.
Dr. MUNIR, let me follow up on what the Minister of Commerce of Cambodia said. So there's so much diversity in terms of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises in ASEAN. So how do you think will this AMEN initiative work?
Thank you, Rico. I like your socks, by the way. They're very nice.
Oh, thank you. Is that what's catching your attention, not the topic?
Actually, let me, first of all, from the bottom of my heart, sort of acknowledge this initiative as a very timely one, and identify Joy as the leader of this initiative. Well done, and ASEAN Back is very happy to support it. Well done. I think it is something critical. Actually, ASEAN Back is one of the first bodies to start talking about MSMEs. For the longest time, people were talking about SMEs. And we had been debating. There's a SME working group, and all of a sudden it's become, we say, no, it's got MSMEs. You look at the numbers. I mean, today we've heard lots of numbers. Lots of numbers about size of economy. We've had lots of words about what ASEAN, can do, and so on and so forth. And we've had shared experiences about what is being done. Now, there are two numbers that are huge insofar as MSMEs are concerned, which can be good or bad. They worry me. First, 63.4 million enterprises in ASEAN. 63 of them are MSMEs. Okay? Only 400,000 are not. In the whole of ASEAN, of which 56 million such enterprises are in Indonesia. Okay? A lot of enterprises. Now you look at employment. The range of employment is from 52% to 97%. Now what happens if MSMEs fail? Forget about contribution to the economy and so on. Employment is going to be hit. It's going to be hit very hard. What happens when employment is hit? There's going to be stresses in a lot of economies. There's going to be protectionism that's going to come up. And there will be a rollback of the ASEAN process. So it is very important that MSMEs are not allowed to fail. The other factor, if
Not
I may,
too big to fail. Not too
cannot
small,
be allowed
not too medium to fail.
If it fails, ASEAN may fail. Okay? I don't want to be too dramatic, but if it fails, ASEAN may fail. Okay? Because the integration will not take place. You know, people will put up. The second aspect is people have been talking about technology. Okay? Now, technology can be an enabler. We talk about e-commerce. But don't forget, the digital economy is bigger than just e-commerce. What could happen is, with robotization, I know Singapore has got fantastic plan of you know, retraining and so on, but they are singularly the only one which has these kind of plans in place. And they have the smallest population. But those with the big populations, with robotization or artificial intelligence, coming back to the employment argument, what happens when people are replaced in employment? Will that not cause stresses to happen? So I say we need to think about these things. The mentorship program is a thought process about these things, about how to make sure they don't fail. But beyond that, there is a need to ensure that the rise of the digital economy also does not cause them to fail. That it indeed helps them through e-commerce, but doesn't cause them to fail through the replacement of employment by robots and such things. What we need in ASEAN, we've got a lot of policies. You know, we have economic policies and so on. We don't have an ASEAN social policy. I think we need to think about having a social policy with an emphasis on education, and an education which actually takes into account the digital economy and the retraining of people and how they could be retrained. You can see how the corner shops in the UK and the US and so on have been replaced. You see how brands are closing down because of online shopping. What's going to happen to the corner shops? To the malls in Bangkok, to the malls in Manila, when online shopping becomes real. So this is going to be, people call it disruption and then say, okay, disruption. It is a revolutionary event that's going to take place. And therefore, the mentorship program is essential, but not sufficient. We have to think deeper about the issues that are going to be thrown up by what's happening in our world today.
Despite these disruptions, Dr. Munir, and these bricks and mortars, one company in the Philippines, despite all their malls, stands very tall despite the digital e-commerce revolution, and that is SM. So how have you been able to fight the disruptiveness of what's happening now in the global economic marketplace?
I guess we're lucky that here in the Philippines we are very, we like socials, we like meeting people, so our malls are centers of community. But in this area, I'd like to mention about the mentorship that you were discussing a while ago. You see, when you see our company, SM, you see goods, you see customer service. Now, it is more than that. You know, behind that, there are a large number of SME. We cannot exist without the SME. And with that, we have on our supply chain, we have a provider of services, provider of goods, whether they are just distributor, importer, or producers. So, and then of course we do have our employees and their employees as well. It's a whole community serving one single item that that the customer is buying. And because our boss is actually our customer, what we usually have to look for things that they need and keep them interested. So we always demand from our suppliers and our and service provider to give us better technology, better products, better design, and with that, it is our way of training them by requiring them to do better. So right now that Joey Concepcion has this mentorship network, I think it is institutionalizing and formalizing what we actually have been doing, and that is remarkable.
And Tessie, what about funding? I mean, what, these MSMEs who are your tenants, do you also enable them through funding?
Yeah, well, in our group, we have a bank where we service a lot of the credit facilities to large, medium, and SME. We actually have a lot of SME. This time, we're going into the micro, to smaller, the MSME, because we think that there are a lot of people who may be able to expand their business, given some access to finance, access to market, to innovation, and I hope the government support as well. And right now, we have, I think they will have access to the mentorship.
Thank you very much, Tessie. Manny, digital technologies are drastically changing the way people do business. How can mentorship help these micro, small, and medium enterprises?
Well, good afternoon to everybody. So how can mentorship help the SMSEs?
Yes.
I think there's a positive part of it, principally by way of sharing how large businesses like SM, PLDT conduct their businesses, no? Respectively, and joining the network that Joey is conceiving, both in the Philippines and in the ASEAN region. So you could travel throughout the country and share, talk to the entrepreneurs. The other part of it is leading by example, showing how you conduct your business, what insights in the business or businesses might be possible for them to participate in, and as a model on how to conduct your business. No? The abiding lesson we want to show to those who want to emulate what we're doing is that you can be a profitable enterprise without having to cut corners or do other things that are unnecessary, because you can be profitable without having to do other things, right? The other thing, what it is not, is that you cannot teach SMEs really what entrepreneurship is all about, because by definition, it's already in their DNA, right? So it's a question of really just having a relationship with them, sharing your experience and their experience with you, so that, you know, the spirit and the method of conducting business are shared amongst the business community.
But is PLDT reaching out to the micro entrepreneurs?
Well, there's a specific unit within the overall enterprise group of PLDT dedicated to the micro enterprises and the small and medium enterprises. And our goal is really to bring them up to the digital level, no? Because at the end of the day, a digital company like PLDT is an enabler of businesses, large and small, like giving them the ability to onboard the internet, giving them the ability to help them in their software needs by putting their needs on the cloud, by giving them the ability to forego capex on servers, by giving them the services that our data centers provide. No? So they can be digital savvy without having to invest heavily in both talents and in the hardware of the internet. No?
Dr. MUNIR, you wanted to add to the technology and the funding aspect.
Funding from the funding aspect, I think one of the greatest weaknesses of the ASEAN integration process is the disconnect between what, Excellency, you economic ministers are proposing to do and so on and so forth, and what the finance ministers and central bank governors propose to do or not propose to do. We need the lubrication of finance to fulfill your objectives, including your SME master plan and so on and so forth. This disconnect must be addressed if ASEAN is going to make further progress for MSMEs or for anything else. Now, in terms of how mentorship per se can help in gaining finance for the small and micro enterprises is by coming in the value chain. When you have a big brother, big father who not only provides you with information and so on, who might even be using the supplies that come from you, there is a certain certainty of revenue from your activities, you know, that will then make it more able for reluctant bankers, you know, to look at your books, at your numbers, and to believe in your numbers to give you the financing, okay? It's improved, it's improved. But the third point is, coming back to my first point, is we always ask for foreign investment, don't we, in ASEAN? But we seem to block investment intra-ASEAN. There are so many platforms for such loans and investments to take place, but there are so many regulations which stop them. For example, you talk about loan crowdfunding. You can have platforms, e-finance platforms, that can provide finance from someone in Malaysia who wants to enjoy 8% return in the Philippines. He can use that platform, take the risks, including the currency risk, and make that loan possible. But there are all sorts of regulations, which will too long for me to get into, which will stop this. Similarly, with equity crowdfunding, you have investment platforms called investment account platforms or private equity platforms that can be used to throw money into, to invest or to throw money into, let's say, profit-sharing arrangements with companies lacking in finance. These things should be facilitated intra-ASEAN, but it's not. We welcome more of those from outside ASEAN than those from inside ASEAN. High net worth individuals who are willing to take higher risk for higher return. Why are we so blinkered in our own region? Why do we look always to the Europeans, you know, to provide the special money? What is so special about their money from the money that may come from Singapore or wherever else? I think ASEAN's got to really address this.
Thank you very much, Dr. MUNIR. Your Excellency, maybe you could share with us the experience right now within Cambodia on the dynamism of the micro, the small, and the medium-sized enterprises, and how important is mentorship in the country in terms of helping out these MSMEs?
Yeah, thank you. As you know that in Cambodia we have 95 to 99% micro SMEs running, and the 99.9% of the micro SMEs, 30% addressed to our GDP. We are working side by side with them, and we have creating even for the young entrepreneurs associations, and we support this kind of initiative, which is under the Chamber of Commerce, Cambodian Chamber of Commerce, and try to link them with international communities and other chambers so that they can share experience and technology transfer between among themselves. This is very important for us as an LDCs, because we need private sector's fundings, we need private sector's support. And you're talking about within ASEAN, of course we need within ASEAN and also outside from ASEAN, the technology and also the fundings. That's allow us to, if you will, leapfrog into the next level of development. This is very important for us. I believe that I just want to answer the disconnectivity between the different establishments like finance, like trade. I would like to see not just even for the countries itself, but the whole ASEAN to have a specific objective how to promote and how to mentor. That's what we're doing here right now, to have a common platform and to start up with a master plan, if you will, so that we can trace down from there what we want to do for ASEAN, ASEAN Economic Community, what we want to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then what we need to do in detail down below. Then we can space out and also division our labors, divide our labors properly according to different developments of the countries and also different developments of the private sectors within ASEAN. So each one of us has to do specific things in order to develop this kind of objective here more successfully, in a sense that within ASEAN, private sectors, ASEAN, and also public sectors themselves. So specific roadmaps has to be done on this in order to have this mentoring, if you will, to reach a successful stage and also faster. That's what we want.
And indeed, that is the goal, Your Excellency, that a Philippine mentor will help out, let's say, a Singaporean MSME or a Laotian mentor will be helping a Philippine SME. So that is basically the whole goal of this Amen initiative.
This Amen, yes, Amen.
So Amen. Amen. And Joey, you have a question?
Amen, amen.
Amen.
I'm not a Christian, so I don't know what to say.
Basically, Tessie was saying about mentoring. It is true that if we mentor our entrepreneurs within our own ecosystem, that is the way to go. What Go Negosyo is trying to structure with DTI is for those who don't really belong to an ecosystem. These are either retailers, sari-sari store owners, people like that, service people, as explained this morning. No? But in every business, we have suppliers. They are entrepreneurs. In the case of SM, they have the supermarkets, their malls. They provide the retail space, they have the bank, and if the bank is able to provide advice, that is already mentorship. Going further than that, and giving an example of this group of Harvest, which is led by an entrepreneur called Toto Barcelon. So what Harvest does is a program with SM where they train the farmers. And as they produce the products, the agri-products, they're sold to their stores. Now, you can see the multiplier effect. If all the chains start to do that, look for somebody to strengthen. In other words, it's not enough opening your market, your supermarkets to all of these farmers, but you have to mentor them. And mentor can be in various forms. And there are people out there that can help. So imagine if SM has done it, and can we get Pure Gold? Can we get Robinson? Can we get all of these other establishments to do that? That becomes really a game changer. So another step forward is what Bam said this morning. We, in our corporation, most of our corporations, we have many medium and large suppliers. But is there an effort to really try to look for the micro supplier there and really target maybe 5% or 10% of that supply chain going to them, maybe over time, no? And that requires even more intensive mentorship. Now, do we work with Go Negosyo on that mentoring program? Not necessarily. There are many organizations out there, and we can pinpoint these organizations, be it in agri, they need financing, or whatever type of mentorship. It should conform within what that business is all about and the supply chain that is required. And sometimes mentorship is a very powerful tool, especially as we know our business. For example, like in ice cream, not many sari-sari stores used to sell ice cream in the Philippines. So what we did is we took a risk. We started to mentor the ice cream at the sari-sari stores. We put one cooler there. We provided the credit. With the support of our partner, we had this gadget to be able to monitor the inventory. And today, they've increased their sales by 20% because ice cream became a component. Of course, we benefit out of that, but we trained them. So that's the whole process of inclusivity. You know? It's what Bam was saying is let's take one step forward. Let's not be happy with our medium and large suppliers. Let's take the risk in taking a micro-entrepreneur and seeing how we can take that micro-entrepreneur into a small entrepreneur. And that, to me, is the game changer, if we're able to do that. I mean, the 0.4% of the large corporations in this country, even Mon Lopez said that we can really change the game if all of us start to look at, rather than CSR, let's look at that initiative. And that gave me an idea when Bam said that, what if we are to really go around and look for micro-entrepreneurs who can become small entrepreneurs or medium-sized entrepreneurs?
So, but that's on the domestic front, Joey. So what are eventually the end goals? Is the end goal of AMEN also to have cross-border mentorship?
That same thinking applies to every ASEAN country. That same thinking. The idea of AMEN is basically to build a mentorship network. You know, right now we have 150 mentors today. That's not even enough to run the mentor program with DTI and DA. What we need is mentors from agriculture. I mean, we used to be the teacher. Now we're the student. So we have to learn from Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia. But where do we call them? We need a directory of mentors who are willing to come here. Even we will pay for their airfare and whatever allowance that is required, and bring these mentors to really mentor even the mentor. So the moment you have this rich pool of mentors in a directory, and you know, that is the start of a process whereby at a higher level we can mentor the mentor or bring in the mentors to mentor the entrepreneur.
So calling all mentors. We would like everyone to be a mentor here. I think that's very important, right, Joey? I mean, we really have to promote this mentorship program to be able to enable a lot of these micro enterprises to be small and eventually medium and become conglomerates one of these days. What do you think of?
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
I mean, mentorship is natural. I mean, right now you must be mentoring your son, right? One day he'll be like you.
To be a news anchor.
News anchor. Look at the Tessie's family. They're all into retail. Where did it come from? From their father. So it starts sometimes subliminally. As I said, I never thought I'd be a chairman or even working for this government or helping the country. That was not in me. I was always thinking of myself. No? So, but my father realizing from, it gets into you, the exposure. And that's why if you look at the Filipino Chinese families here and everywhere, they're mentored from grade school. They're asked to child labor.
So, Tessie, would you like to add to that, the mentorship program?
I agree. I agree that it starts with the family, and it starts by being exposed to the conversations in the dining during the dining time, and it's also mentoring by just observing. For our family, we observe a lot, and that's how we start to digest what is happening. And years later, we began to understand what was happening. Yeah, I think exposure, observing, working, and working hard will lead you to a better place sometime in the future.
So, Tessie, you were taught by your father, you were mentored by your father, your brothers and your sisters were also mentored by your father, but of course now we have the millennial generation. Is it more difficult or is it easier to mentor the millennial generation compared to the previous generations?
The millennials are actually more knowledgeable than many of us because of their exposure on the informations in the digital space. The only thing is because of their accelerated knowledge, sometimes they think that they know a lot, and some of them, they know a little bit more than us, so some of them is very low in EQ. But in IQ, many of them are very high. So I guess it takes a while for to balance the EQ and the IQ.
The EQ and the IQ. You know, even my son is mentoring me in terms of digital technology. He's only 12 years old. He knows much more than me. What about you, Manny? I mean, in terms of mentoring. I mean, you've worked overseas for many, many years. How different is it mentoring in the Philippines and mentoring someone who's not from the company?
Someone who's not inherited wealth, you mean? It's, I would say that working abroad is an entirely different experience, actually. So because you are, for one, it's an entirely different environment. So something quite unfamiliar to you, and so you have to deal with that. And I've worked in Hong Kong continuously for about 22 years. And the thing about Hong Kong, it's pretty much a working environment. It's apart from being a shopping environment, but you know, it has bred a community of some of the best lawyers in the world, some of the best bankers and investment bankers in the world, some of the best accountants in the world, some of the best financial advisors in the world. So the level of competition there and the demands on you in terms of the standards of excellence that you must deliver are very high. So in all of my conversations, the mentoring with the youth, I would encourage them to actually, if you have a chance to work abroad, go do it. You're young enough to fail. You're young enough to learn what's out there. It's important for you, whether you're millennial or not, to know what's out there in the world, because if you're so engrossed with things that are entirely domestic, you will never know what competition is like in the world, RICO. You know that. You're in Singapore. And the internet, you talked about millennials, has broken down barriers. And by definition, you have to deal with the world. I think Maria said once you go into the internet, you're global by definition. So I think it's important that we know what that world is, and we know what the world of the millennials is as well, no? Because there are probably millennials in this room. It's not my world anymore. It's their world. It's a different world, and we, as the seniors, have to understand what this digital technology is all about. But through it all, what should underpin whatever world might happen, digital or otherwise, in the future, are the values that are transcendent and that will continue to be the bedrock of your business, and that will ensure its continuity over time. Methods will change. The digital world will be here maybe for the next few decades, but who knows beyond that what will happen. So you just have to be ready for it. You have to be open for it, and you have to change. And all of these disruptions that are happening, and they are happening in our business particularly, because we're at the cutting edge of technology, it's very, very painful. And if you don't adjust to it, or in fact, if you don't promote it, if you don't disrupt yourselves, somebody else will disrupt your business. Somebody else will do that. So you might as well, my favorite term is, you might as well commit suicide, right? Because somebody else will do it for you.
So keeping an open mind. Thank you so much, Manny. Before, we have about 30 minutes to go before the end of this panel discussion, but His Excellency Pan SORASAK, the Minister of Commerce of Cambodia, will have to leave us now because he has an important meeting to attend. Let's give a big round of applause to His Excellency for joining us in this panel discussion on mentorship. Thank you very much, sir.
But before I go, I would like to just add a few words on the mentoring, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
I would like to saying that mentoring, you need to have incentives of doing things. You know, you cannot just teach them or train people to a certain goal. You have to have some incentives to reach that goal. And then also some kind of ripple effects that you would like to see once you mentor or train a person there. What's next to be done for have a special ripple effects of these kind of things here. Incentive is very important to push any objective to go forwards. And with that, I thank you for your
Thank you
time.
very much.
Thank
His
you for
Excellency.
everybody. Thank
That's
you.
a very important point. We will have to excuse His Excellency, but we will continue our panel discussion. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And of course, we would like to promote be a mentor for entrepreneurship in ASEAN. You can visit this website, www.aseanmentors.org. Fill on the online fields and receive the acknowledgement email. Please have a seat. So, Dr. MUNIR, I think His Excellency mentioned a good point there about incentives. What do you think of that? Incentives for mentoring.
I mean, mentorship is not a charity.
It's not for free.
It's not an act of charity. It's an act which links you to people in the value chain or the supply chain, yeah? Which will then enhance your business. You try to enhance their quality. their standards of product or services, which you're then able to sell at the top end of the chain. You know? So, but there must be an element of goodwill, I suppose. Yeah? Well, it's not an act of charity. There's an element of goodwill, because you develop good relationships, you know, with people, and you get recognized in society as someone who does something good in bringing up the micro and small companies. And I think it should not be limited just to ASEAN. There's no reason why it should be limited to ASEAN. It'll take a long time, but we can't wait for time. We've got to do things, you know, all at once sometimes. So mentorship starting here and being developed here is well and good. And we've been talking at the ASEAN Business Advisory Council about having it at ASEAN-wide level. Why should it not also involve the ASEAN Plus countries? You know, the ASEAN Plus countries, Australia or Japan, EU, or, you know, they also have sort of end sellers who need supply lines, you know. And there's no reason why they should not also come and participate and see how they can link up with ASEAN MSMEs if it makes sense for them. It's not an act of charity, but I think it's a good idea to broaden the net and to make it happen faster.
Thank you very much, Dr. MUNIR. Let me move here to the middle to fill up the space of His Excellency so I could be closer to Tessie and to Manny. So Tessie, what do you make of incentives? I mean, for the people within, let's say, the SM group or outside the SM group who would like to learn from the SM formula?
There's no better motivation than business. Things has to be commercially viable. So in our supply chain, if they do better, we would get more volume. And from what Dr. MUNIR was saying, for those ASEAN Plus, those countries, if they want to buy from us and they require us to do a certain design or certain services, I think then it will become commercially. There is a commercial reasons why they would have to train us. So I guess all of the, I mean, these are not, as you have mentioned several times, it's not charity. It has to be commercially, there has to be commercial reason for all of this mentorship.
Does there always have to be a commercial reason, Manny?
That's the best motivation.
I agree with Tessie. I'd like to think that the incentives to mentor are built into your business, especially for large businesses. To Joey's point earlier, in respect of your suppliers, you have to develop a relation with your suppliers, right? Because for them, you need them, but there are certain requirements you have, so you have to tell them what you need, right? And at what time, the process by which they have to follow in order for them to supply you in a proper way. Or, as in the case of SMART, in the early days of online loading, the e-load and the pass-load, we have had to develop our own retail distribution networks for these micro-entrepreneurs to load up, to be able to sell load on air. No? So it's driven by, that's the best incentive, driven by commercial reasons that are symbiotic to you and to the kind of businesses that you should develop for your own sake and for their sake as well. I've always felt, even in the matter of social programs or CSR, corporate social responsibility, to the extent that you imbue it with an underlying business reason, that's a better incentive for you to participate in the broader social programs that are needed by this country or any emerging economy. No?
Is mentorship essential in creating a successful enterprise?
Well, I think in the case of Tessie, yes. In my case as well, there were people who mentored me when I was young, and Hong Kong was a great teaching place for me. No? Yeah, everybody does, but But for me to tell somebody what to do to become a businessman or entrepreneur, I don't think he needs it. It's there. It's there in his genes. Who am I to say you should do these things? No?
So Tessie, outside from your father or mother, was there anyone who helped you? Was there any other mentor in your life outside of the family?
Every one of us is developed by the environment, by the experience in your lifetime. So you can actually learn from everyone. There's always something that you can learn from everyone. And that's, if we're alert, there is this natural mentorship that you can get from many people. And yes, my parents are developed us well, gave us some basic, gave us some values. But you know, these values are also strengthened by the environment and experience. So you can learn from everyone.
Learn from everyone. Is that the case as well, Dr. Munir? Learn from everyone, apart from the people in your family?
Well, I think apart from your family, I mean, your next level of teachers, mentors, are your teachers. You know, at school, and you know, you learn a lot. I mean, of course, you reach a point sometimes in your life and you say, you are my mentor, okay? The special mentor. It doesn't mean that everyone else has not been a mentor to you as well, but there's a special place for this person. It could be your father, it could be your special headmaster, you know, it could be a university professor, or it could be, you know, some industrialist or something who was a mentor in my work. I mean, when I was in the newspaper business, Tan Sri Lee Siu Yi was my mentor. You know, he was the group editor of the newspaper, and he was a great teacher. He taught me many things about how to be a journalist, good journalist, and he told me lots of stories about his life, you know, very interesting stories. I mean, he's passed on, obviously, now. I consider him to be my mentor, you know, in journalism. So in different fields of activity, you know. I used to think, and sometimes you think of some people as a mentor, and somehow or other they do something wrong themselves along the line, you know, and then
Learning from that experience as well.
so you learn from, like Barings, you know, Barings, I worked with Baring Brothers, you know, and they were a corporate finance advisory outfit. But they went into trading, which they did not understand, and the whole firm collapsed in 1995 in Singapore. You know the Nick Leeson affair in 1995, and Barings was the oldest merchant bank in England. Collapsed. They were my mentor. Two of the people there, I shan't name them, you know, were my mentors. And I kept to what they taught me, which they themselves did not keep to, you know, which they themselves did not keep to, because they said, you just do what you understand in business. If you don't understand and you do something you don't understand, even if it gives you money, at some point it's going to come back and kill you. And it happened to them.
Thank you very much, Dr. Munir. We have about 2 minutes left, and maybe I would like a final word from our three panelists here on stage. And maybe we'll start off with Tessie. And what is your dream, Tessie, for this AMEN initiative, for this ASEAN Mentorship Entrepreneurship Network? Where do you want it to be?
I was hoping that it will be institutionalized and it will be everywhere, so that, you know, so that we can improve or accelerate the supply chain.
MANNY?
Well, I think where we are, our world, RICO, is really deeply involved with digital technology. And we're seeing that the world, including to a degree the Philippines, is moving in that space. So how can we mentor our people in adopting the relevant technologies so that they can do their jobs better, have better businesses, be more prosperous? Earlier, I heard that you talked about inclusive growth. How can digital technology help precisely to level the economic structure of this country
What are we lacking right now, Manny?
Many things. Look, for example, somebody said earlier that 70% of our people are unbanked and uncarded. So that's why the money is not there. You talked about the availability of cash because people are just not familiar with how to open a bank account and what is a credit card. We have Paymaya that has a plastic card. If you give a plastic card to a farmer, the first thing he'll ask is, what is this? How do I use this, right? And so there's an education issue. That's why my message internally is that everybody in this country has a phone. And everybody in this country knows how to load a phone. He will load it, or she will load it, for telephoning purposes. But the trick would be to mentor him to use the phone to pay for other things. There was an example we saw in India of a fruit vendor. And the buyer of the fruits obviously had a phone that is able to read a QR code. Now, for the vendor to use the QR code, typically you need a point-of-sale machine. But what they provided in India is you download this particular strip of paper that has a QR code which you can paste on a cardboard. So after buying the fruits, this buyer just took a photo of the QR code, and after a few seconds, the vendor got paid. No cash transaction. But all around, and which is what we want to do, is you still have to use the banking system. Now, there is the other part of releasing the pent-up cash availability. You know, this economy is quite liquid, but how do you make that cash available to more and more users? It's really your ability to rate the credit, because to the extent that you're a prepaid customer of the telcos here, we don't have a record of you. We really don't have a record of you. If you're postpaid, we have a record of you. But if you're prepaid, you gotta develop the credit rating engines that are actually available. So if we do that, and if we facilitate the lending institution, from microfinance to commercial banks, the ability to lend nationwide without having to put up more and more of these bricks and mortars, then you're doing a good job. I think you'll be a good job for this country and for our people. Because if you unleash the ability of financial institutions to lend money and be able to monitor the credit and to know your customer, then I think you would have done a good job.
Thank you very much, Manny. Many challenges, but ASEAN will overcome. Dr. MUNIR?
Okay, I would say get cracking.
Get cracking.
Get cracking, get moving. Just don't have these words, you know, lovely words.
Yes.
Sit there.
Action.
Like so many ASEAN words, you know. And I think my colleagues in ASEAN Business Advisory Council, we have a job of work to do. There are a few rough edges to the concept, let's face it. Insofar as the definition of inclusive business is concerned, I think there's no problem. We don't have a problem with that. In terms of what sort of companies will provide these mentorship services, if you like, there seem to be some differences. And we have more or less decided, we leave it to different countries to decide, you know, what sort of companies they think can be mentors. We have no time to waste, because we have to reach a point by November whereby the ASEAN Mentorship Program is adopted, because of our recommendation, ASEAN Back, adopted as in the statement of the ASEAN leaders in their next summit.
All right, on that note, we would like to thank our panelists on ASEAN Mentorship, Dr. MUNIR, Manny Pangilinan, and Tessie C. COSON. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you very much for your views on ASEAN Mentorship Entrepreneurship Network, or AMEN.